everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Mona. I am passionate about fragrances, and in this channel I talk about the fragrances that I love the most. So if you're interested about the topic, then please keep watching. In today's video, I want to talk about timeless classic linen amber fragrances. These are fragrances that are so perfect for this season. November is the best month for me to talk about amber fragrances, even though in Italy this year November is quite hot, but the weather is starting to get more and more cold. So I figured that amber fragrances would be a great topic to talk about right now. And by the way, if you love amber fragrances, I am planning to do also another video on amber fragrances with sexy, more modern amber fragrances. So stay tuned if you're into this type of fragrances. But now let's dive into the topic of today's video, which is classic linen timeless amber fragrances, and start with the first one, which is Melodie de l'Alte by LK. This is a beautiful resinous amber fragrance. This goes into a spicy leathery direction. There's saffron and a leather note. You have also, of course, some resinous elements. I think there's some stearates in here. And this is very sweet. Ambery, of course. This has this ambery texture, resinous, sweet. There's also some slightly juicy, sugary, but airy at the same time texture. It projects a lot, but it's very soft, it's delicate, even though you have this kind of leathery aspect underneath. It's very elegant and sophisticated, it's sexy, it's elegant, it's sweet but not too sweet. It's a great amber fragrance. This is not your typical classic amber, but it surely goes into that classic direction. And LK, by the way, is a beautiful brand, very popular in the last few years, I think, but this one is one of my favorite. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Ghibli, if you're familiar with that fragrance, but less nutty and more juicy and airy in texture. It's, to me at least, is something in between Ghibli and Lettre de Pushkar. Lettre de Pushkar is maybe the most popular, or at least the fragrance that made this brand very popular. I like that fragrance, but it's quite challenging for me personally because it's quite heavy on the spicy side, whereas this one has something spicy going on. There's also this leather element, but it is less spicy and more wearable for me. It's quite sophisticated and elegant, and it's a beautiful amber leaning into a classic direction. Definitely something that you can wear on an everyday basis. It has a lot of personality, but it stays very delicate and perfect for an everyday use. So Melodie de l'Alte by LK. The next fragrance that I want to talk about is a very classic fragrance. It is in fact the first fragrance to be defined as oriental in the perfumery industry. And I'm talking about a flanker of that fragrance. I'm talking about Shalimar l'Essence. This is a beautiful flanker of the classic, of the one and only Shalimar. This is the flanker that went out this year for the 100 years anniversary of Shalimar. In fact, Shalimar was launched in 1925. And for the 100 years anniversary, they made this beautiful version. The bottle is amazing. I, of course, have also the original Shalimar. I love how it smells. I feel like it's a great scent. It's a beautiful masterpiece, of course. And I love how it smells, but I find it very challenging to wear, especially on an everyday basis. And I do believe that. So moving on to Shalimar l'Essence, I feel like this one is a little bit more easy to wear on an everyday basis. In fact, this was conceived to be like the more modern version and more versatile and wearable version of the original Shalimar. And I feel like it succeeds to represent what it wants to represent. I do believe that the DNA of Shalimar is still there, but there is definitely less animalic notes, less leather, less incense, also less citrusy notes. In fact, I can even smell the citrusy notes at all. And there is much more vanilla. There is also a little bit more of iris because I feel like this is a more powdery version of the original, but mostly it has a lot of vanilla more. So it's like Shalimar with more vanilla and less of all the challenging aspects that, at least nowadays, a fragrance like Shalimar, the original, can have. So I do believe it's a great scent, a beautiful launch of 2025, and I feel like it's going to be a fragrance that I'm going to wear a lot this fall and winter. So Shalimar l'Essence by Guerlain. Moving on to the next one, we have Ambre Sauvage Absolu by Annick Goutal. Now, I do feel like Annick Goutal is quite an underrated brand. I think that it might be because we are so used to very potent, strong, high-performance fragrances. We want our fragrances to project a lot, to last like 48 hours or so. And Annick Goutal has a different kind of different way of making fragrances. This is, by the way, a very classic brand from the 80s, a French brand from the 80s. But this is definitely something that it's worth trying if you're not so much into the performance of a fragrance, but you want to smell something very interesting and beautiful, then Annick Goutal is definitely something to try. And talking about this fragrance in particular, Ambre Sauvage Absolu, this is a beautiful amber fragrance with a prominent woody note. There is a dark woody note in here. I think it's black wood, the way that it's called, this note. But anyways, this is a very dark woody note. And the way that it comes out, to me, it's like, it makes me think of old vintage furniture, or like going into an old library where you can smell all this woody furniture, and there's something, I don't know why, but there's something boozy about this fragrance, even though there's no boozy note. And you also have some red fruit note in here. So the red fruit note is prominent on top of the fragrance. I can definitely tell that there's something sweet and fruity. I wouldn't tell what kind of fruity note it's there, but I will definitely tell that on top of this amber woody notes, amber woody base, there's something a little bit more fruity and juicy and slightly sweet. It is a fragrance that overall has quite a sweetness to it. It's a sweet amber fragrance, but the woody element is present, and it's a dark woody element that makes me think of again of this vintage vibe that is really my vibe with amber fragrances. So this is a very classic leaning amber fragrance, and I do love also the fact that although it has these notes that may make you think of something very strong and potent, it is not too much, it is not too cloying, it is not too loud, because again, this is a brand that it's not focused on making fragrances that are very potent, but in making interesting fragrances that are also very chic and elegant. It remains very sophisticated, even though the notes are so powerful and strong by themselves. So it's a very beautiful one, Ambre Sauvage l'Absolu by Annick Goutal. Let's talk about another classic, which is Ambre Sultan by Serge Lutens. Now, I do love Serge Lutens as a brand in general. I do love their fragrances. It's such a beautiful brand. This is one of my favorites, and it's a very opulent, rich, dense, decadent amber fragrance. You definitely have a lot of resinous elements. You also have patchouli in here, so it's quite earthy and so resinous. The texture is almost powdery, but the powdery that comes from the earthiness of the patchouli and the resinous of the amber notes. So I think there's tirats in here as an amber resin, and then you have also some slightly spicy notes and aromatic notes. There are some kind of green aromatic and mentholate notes in here. So it is very beautiful. It's it's extremely interesting as a fragrance. It's such a beautiful masterpiece in my opinion. The name Ambre Sultan definitely is adapted for this fragrance because it is very opulent, very rich, very decadent. It's a great amber scent, but in this case it may not be for everybody because this is a fragrance that you really have to enjoy amber and patchouli combinations, and you have to enjoy your amber very rich and very resinous to enjoy this fragrance. It's not the most wearable in this list. It's actually quite challenging to wear also for me, even though I do love this fragrance. This is another fragrance that I would absolutely suggest you to try if you've never smelled it, because it is another classic amber fragrance that one should try at least once. And Serge Lutens is a brand that you should definitely try in general. So Ambre Sultan by Serge Lutens. And now moving on, we have the other beautiful fragrance, which is Eau du Serail by Naomi Goodsir. Now this is another brand that I love. I have to dive deeper into this brand, but there are some other fragrances that I have smelled along the way, and I think this is a very extremely interesting brand. They have a few fragrances, but each and every one of them are done to perfection, and this one is a great amber fragrance. Now I have to warn you, we're moving into a very rich and opulent direction here. This is a very sweet, rich, dense, opulent amber fragrance. You have so many things going on, but mostly what I get is the tobacco in the base. There's a lot of honey and also beeswax, and then on top of that you have a lot of fruity notes. You have mango, you have coconut, you have apple. I think you also have red berries here as well. So you have this beautiful, luscious, scrumptious kind of mix of tobacco, honey, and all these beautiful sweet fruits. And of course there's an amber base that blends it all. But don't think that it is a fragrance that it smells too much like tobacco or too much like honey or too much like the single fruity notes that I mentioned. To me at least, this is blended to perfection. It is perfectly blended with these ambery vanilla notes that make it a beautiful fragrance. It is of course very challenging, or at least it might be challenging if you're not into this type of fragrances, but if you like the idea of this kind of fragrance, you're just going to love it. I feel like this is a fragrance that you may love or hate, and if you love it, it's completely mind-blowing to you. I really enjoy this one. It's challenging also for me. There are so many fragrances that I have in my collection that I do love, but they are challenging to wear on an everyday basis. This doesn't mean that I will not wear them or that I'm not happy to have them in my collection. I'm very happy to have those fragrances in my collection. I feel like this is another masterpiece to me, together with Ambre Sultan is another fragrance that I consider to be a masterpiece. But sometimes there are fragrances that I don't even love so much, but I do find very easy to wear on an everyday basis. And then there are fragrances that I do feel like they're so beautiful, but have to kind of wait for the right occasion or the right mood to wear that specific scent profile. And that's the case with L'Eau du Serail. But when I smell it, I'm completely mind blown. This is a beautiful scent. So this is the beautiful Eau du Serail by Naomi Goodsir. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comments what are the fragrances that you consider to be the most beautiful, classic or classic leaning amber fragrances that one should try at least once. And if you're into amber fragrances and you want to know more about more modern, sexy amber fragrances, then stay tuned because I'm going to upload soon another video on this topic. So hope to see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!